What's up, guys? Welcome back to Release Week, where we are celebrating the release of my first novel, the first book in the series Hope on the High Seas, and it's called Free. So today I am going to be showing you all of the original illustrations that I did for this book. I don't know if you could tell, but there are a lot of illustrations, and if you haven't read the book yet, you might want to skip some of these because they might spoil something. I'll save the ones that could potentially be spoilers for the very end, and I'll give you a timestamp so that way you can skip in case you don't want to accidentally spoil anything. But most of these are just concept art and various different scenes from more towards the middle or beginning of the book, so I think that will be fine. Most of them are not done because I have a habit of starting drawings and never finishing them. Some of them turned out really good, some of them are a little creepy. It's amazing how my art ebbs and flows, and the style changes, and what my favorite medium is changes. So this embodies, let's see, 4 years of drawings. So yeah, they're kind of in not any particular order at the moment. They're kind of in chronological order as far as the story, but I will just go through and show them to you. Some of these you will have already seen before. So this first one, if you saw my cover reveal video, you've seen this one because this was one of the original cover illustrations. I'm just gonna hold these up to the camera for you because getting really good scan quality on illustrations is really hard, and I know my home scanner is not gonna be able to do the image justice. So this is the first image. This was originally a cover image, and this was November 2019, so I did this a little over a year ago at this point. I'm actually going to set my folder down over here so that way I'm not shuffling through and bending these illustrations. So this next one is also a cover illustration. This was the very first drawing I ever did, and I don't know that you can see on here. I've covered it up with this background here at the top. But it used to say at the very, 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 very top, and I doubt you can see where the remnants of text are, it used to say, "I am free." Originally, the book was called "I Am Free," but I ended up liking just the shorter version better. I may have said that before on a different one of these videos, but oh well. And you can see that her outfit and the outfits of Leonard and Captain Edward, well, Leonard I don't really have many drawings of anywhere, but Captain Edward's outfit is pretty much the same as it is on the cover, a little bit different, but then Ruth's outfit is very, very similar. There are some minor differences, and actually this drawing has been through many, many, many redrawings. There's actually a little tiny tear right here. I've erased and readjusted this 1,000 times. Originally in this scene, Ruth's outfit was completely different when I was thinking I was going to go for a different time period for this book. Her hair was down, her hair was short. I don't know why I got it into my head I wanted her hair to be short, but for quite a while at the beginning of the process of putting together this book, Ruth's hair was short. And like, not like short, but like chin length. And I'm just like, Careena, looking back, I'm like, at what point in history that you would be choosing for this book would it have been a thing for girls to wear their hair that short? I just think it's funny. I think I just like so many of my other book characters that I've been working on had like super long hair, so I was just like, I'm gonna have this girl be different and she's gonna have short hair. Didn't end up working historically, but it's fun to look back on and see. You can also see I worked on coming up with outfits for the other characters. A lot of these guys aren't actually finished, and most of this drawing is not finished. But the guy that's up here on, I forget what that's called. It's like a bosun's chair or something like that. It's a little kind of chair-like thingy that they'd use sometimes when they were up in the sails or doing painting or things like that. That's Charles. That's Alessio. The guy over here, that the only part of him that's colored, and he's actually not accurate to what he looks like in the story, but this guy is Sean, and then right here by the mast, barely there, that's Alan, and then there's just some random person in the background. But it took a lot of work to get the perspective here of like the different levels of the ship. Like, you know, you have their main deck, then you kind of go back, and then there's what's called the stern castle. I did so much research on the layout of ships and what kind of ship I wanted to use for this time period. I'm going to do a whole nother video on the research that I have done for this book. So yeah, this was for a long time what I thought the cover was going to be. And then, of course, we have the final cover illustration. And you can see that it actually is a lot wider than it ended up being on the book cover. Book covers proportionately are skinnier than this is. You can see on the back where I did a bunch of color swatches. But this is the final version. She has a yellow pair of stays, which, we mostly just call a corset now, and a red skirt. Those were both colors that, according to my research, were colors that she could have. Red skirts were very popular for just a basic woman's petticoat in the 17th century. And then you've got the rolling waves in the background, the clouds. I left this part up here kind of white because I knew that I wanted to have text up here, so I didn't want it to be too busy. And then, of course, you have the ship. This one did not go through nearly as many iterations as that other one and the one with the 3 characters on it. The one with the 3 characters on it also didn't have as many adjustments as the first one, the half-finished one. But this one I do remember kind of not that long ago, relatively recently, I discovered some new shading techniques for faces. So originally her face looked a little bit more one-dimensional, but then I went in and tweaked the shading to give it a little bit more shape. And I really like how this turned out. I also used a different type of paper. Turns out that just standard copy paper is not always the best for colored pencils. I had been dealing on my other colored pencil illustrations with a lot of little white patches, and using a different kind of paper can help with that. But yeah, it's neat how I kind of went from this, which is just a sketch, which honestly I'd never really finished anyway, to this. It's just neat to see kind of how my art progressed and got better over time. I don't even know when the last time was that I went through all of these illustrations. I've got a lot in here. Oh my gosh, I don't know if I want to show you this one. This is one that I tried to do recently when I was working on realism. And the problem is that it could have looked really good, but their eyes are in the wrong place. And so it's kind of creepy. It's Ruth and Captain Edward, also not done, but her eyes are not centered, his eyes are not centered. They're not quite right. It's not terrible, and the shading almost accounts for it because I was going for realism, but it's creepy. I think it's creepy. Their eyes are just yeah, not the best drawing of them that I've done. Some of my favorite drawings of the characters are older drawings. Well, I told you I'd show you everything, so I'll show you everything. This one's literally the start of a drawing of Ruth's face that I never finished. I was going to have her looking up the stars, but I never finished it. This was just a sketch whenever I was trying to figure out kind of the shape and silhouette of Ruth's costume, and also trying to learn to draw her face at different angles, like your chin lifted or, things like that. But yeah, I was particularly working on how to get the silhouette of the stays right, because modern torso silhouettes and historical torso silhouettes are very different things, and historical torso silhouettes changed very much between even decades sometimes. So that was a little bit of a learning curve, and I'm still learning it. So this one is one of the only other color ones that I did, and this is Ruth at night looking out over the starry sky. This is a very important scene in the book. If you've been following me on social media, you know that the scene where she's singing "This Is My Father's World" is important to the book, and this is that scene when she's looking out over the stars. I like the quality of light in this one. It's really hard to get the quality of light for me at night. I have a hard time with nighttime scenes for whatever reason, but I kind of like this, and I like how the ropes kind of frame everything. I think it's pretty. So this one is also one that went through many iterations, and her silhouette is not right. In fact, I also spilled a little bit of something over there. I think I was working on this during Thanksgiving one time, and I got a little something on there. You can see that this is Ruth walking down the beach. At the very, very beginning of the story, you can see palm trees, and then there's a square rigger in the background. I did the water. Not a lot of depth on this one, and this one went through many versions. Everything from, her having the short hair and whatnot to, now she has more of a corset-looking thing and a skirt and a braid. I might add that in these drawings, Ruth's skirt is way shorter than it is in the book. Originally, in addition to the short hair in the original versions of her, she also had a short dress, which I just 4 or 5 years ago, I had so little kind of knowing of where I wanted to go historically with this story that like all of the time periods that I was considering, none of them had short, like not short, but like knee-length skirts. Like that just wasn't a thing, which, you know, I very quickly discovered. So, you know, when I started doing research, I was like, yeah, I think I need to change your outfit. But it's fun to look back and see how many different versions of character design I've gone through. So this one is just a line drawing. I think I did attempt to shade a few people's hair, but this is in the opening chapter of the book, whenever Ruth first meets Captain Edward on his ship. Again, her hair is down. I guess I hadn't gotten to changing that by the time I just decided not to finish this drawing. So this is Captain Edward, Stefan, Alessio. I'm not sure who that is. And this person has no face. Oh man. You can like barely see I started to draw the water in the background, but I hadn't added much like backdrop to this one. But I did draw the characters. Like Captain Edward, Leonard, and Ruth have the most distinct, like, identifiable faces in my drawings. Like, they're the ones that I had the most, like, down. Because if you do character art, like, or maybe this is just me, like, sometimes drawing a character's face the same way twice is surprisingly difficult. Like, inevitably there's something off and they don't look like them. But Captain Edward, Ruth, and Leonard I've drawn enough times that I kind of know their distinctive features. So that helps. This video is going to be long, I have a feeling. Oh my gosh, this is one of my favorites. This one also has been through about 3,000 adjustments. This is one of the first ones I did. Leonard telling Ruth to go work. That was really anticlimactic. Leonard kind of frustrated with Ruth, and Ruth's hair all a mess. She looks very intimidated. I remember sitting in front of my mirror for like what probably amounted to hours working on her pose and her face. That's why she looks like me. And then Leonard's just Leonard. Long hair, pointy nose. His outfit has changed the least of all the main characters. Maybe all the characters in general, but yeah. I think why I like this one is because I feel like it has good emotion and the poses of the characters are good. Sometimes poses are really hard, but I really liked how that one turned out. This one is one I remember doing on the 4th of July when we were driving somewhere a couple years ago. And I never finished it. The perspective was really hard, but I was trying to draw Ruth like climbing down a rope. I mean, like, I think it's pretty good for how difficult that angle is, but I never finished it. It was just a sketch. You can see I do a lot of starting sketches and never finishing them. This is an old one that I didn't even bother to change as much. Her hair's down. This is also the scene where she's looking out over the stars. And the other sailors are in the background. Captain Edward has his cross staff, which is a navigation instrument because the sextant hadn't been invented yet. And I did go ahead and try to draw a three-pointed hat, but it looks pretty bad. And then later I actually found out that the three-pointed hats, you know, the classic tricorn hats, like this, these were more of an 18th century thing, not a 17th century thing. 17th century was more just round-brimmed hats. You know, sometimes they would tack up the sides depending on which, you know, decade you're looking at for more like that cavalier or musketeer look. Yeah. I love researching the fashion. As much as I was not bad at it, but as little as I knew about it at the beginning of this process, I've fallen in love with historical fashion. I just love it. And then, of course, you know, you have Alan, and this is Leonard, this tiny little bit of him. And I tried to draw, like, buckets and sails and stuff in the background, but I never finished it. There's that one. This one I started on June 10th, 2017, so this is one of the oldest. Don't mind me snickering to myself as these drawings bring back memories. This one, again, three-pointed hat. He doesn't have one of his eyes. I never drew his other eye. I started shading and everything, but I never drew his other eye. So there's a scene. Maybe what I'll do is I'll let you guys that have read this like guess some of these scenes. Cause like that didn't really look like much of anything, did it? No, it didn't, because it's a surprise. Now we've come to the ones that could be spoilers. So I'm gonna put a little timestampy thing over here. There will probably also be one in the description of where you can go so as not to see the ones that are spoilers. because I figure I might as well show you guys all these so that down the road, once some of y'all have had a chance to read the book, if you're like me and you like kind of art stuff, fan art stuff, this isn't fan art, but you know, art from books and movies and just fun bookish stuff, you might like to come and see pictures of the characters so you can see them and lay your eyes on them and believe that they're real even though they're not. You totally didn't just say that? You did? We can believe they're real, right? Yeah, we're gonna do that. Let's see if I can get these in approximate chronological order. So, I have more than one of a lot of these, because a lot of the scenes later in the book I really like. So I've kind of drawn and redrawn different scenes so I can try to perfectly capture the emotion of everything in the scene. Okay, got them in approximate order now. I'm gonna have to reorder these when I'm done. So, I'm gonna start with the older one. I have two of this one. One's vertical, one's horizontal, one's color, one's not. So there is a scene in the book, if you've read the book, which hopefully you have if you're watching this, because spoilers. There is a scene where Captain Edward drapes his coat over Ruth while she's sleeping. One of my favorite scenes in the book. How could it not be one of my favorite scenes in the book? And this one I drew back in 2018, and I tried to get like the stars on the water. I hadn't really learned how to properly blend the graphite pencils, but I still think it's pretty nice. I used them a lot more like you would use like a colored pencil or a crayon, and then I just kind of filled in where I thought would be light and where I thought would be dark. I didn't really blend like I know how to do now, but I thought that was pretty sweet. It was pretty tricky to get the perspective on all that. So there's that one, and then that same scene, I did this one July of last year, I think. Either July or August. I date them. I date them on the back. I called this one Father Shadow, I guess? Father Shadow? Why is it that and not Father Figure? I don't know. Maybe because it looks like she's kind of in his shadow. I tried to get the nighttime. I didn't end up finishing the sky and the sea. I kind of liked just the sketchy. Obviously, I should have filled in this railing, but I worked pretty hard to get Ruth's face, like the angle of it, and then of course he's got a black coat. That's more like his coat versus just like his, red cloak thing that he's wearing on the drawing of him that was the three of them, where he had that red coat, the red kind of cape / coat draped over his shoulder that is mentioned in the opening chapter of the book. This is just a dark coat though. Either a long coat like they wore, or maybe even, no, that wouldn't be his doublet, that would just be his coat. Me analyzing which version of a coat from the 17th century this would be. Can you tell I'm a little bit of a fashion history buff at this point? But yeah, I kind of like how sketchy this is, even though I could have finished it a little bit more. Trying to get the shading of his face and her face and the clothing. It was fun. It's of course one of my favorite scenes in the book, so gotta draw that. This is a scene praying. It really doesn't have much depth and shape to it, but there's that one. Can't spend too much time on each of these. This one, I think I have two of these. This one's from 2018 as well. This is from a little bit later in the book, when they're all worrying about her. I hope if you have gotten this far, you have read the book, because I am spoiling things. And this is basically the same thing. No, this is from later in the book. This is from like the second to last chapter, so. And yes, I put Captain Edward's hair in a ponytail. I think that looks nice. He's got his, this is a doublet. A doublet is like when you have one of these but it has sleeves. If it has no sleeves, that's called, I think it's a jerkin. And then, she's got her hair in a bun and whatnot. I like that scene. This one is whenever she's singing My Father's World again. Captain Edward's standing next to her, and it's nighttime. She's looking at the stars again. I also did that one in 2018. I was doing a lot of drawing. I don't draw that much very much anymore. This one, this one's not too big of a spoiler. This is whenever she's offering to help. His name's Jonas. I like the details I did with like his headband and how it's not a bandana, it's just like a sash because that's more historically accurate. And then he's got that little pouch. And then you can see I just sketched in the pots and stuff in the background and ropes hanging because this is the galley. I tried to just use my imagination as to like what would be in the galley and based on some other, you know, images and things that I'd seen. Again, her skirt is a lot shorter than it's described to be in the book, but oh well. I think we're almost done. So this is one of the last scenes in the book. I drew this the day we were moving this day, and I just like sat on the stairs and drew this or started drawing this whenever, you know, we were getting ready to go. Not like getting ready, but while we had a lull time, you know, from when they loaded trucks and whatnot and when we actually needed to leave. And this one, they're in the mess room, and I have a whole bunch of the characters here. Notice I don't really have anybody sitting back here except for this one guy. Never finished, but I got pretty far. Captain Edward and then Ruth, of course, fell asleep. I love that part too. And then we have Alan, Jonas. Funny he doesn't have his headband on this time. Interesting detail. And then Charles, Alessio. I think this is Ronan and Augustus. So yeah. It's funny like how I know who each of these characters are. That's fun. Oh, and I gave Captain Edward those like classic, what do they call those? Bucket top boots? Something like that were so popular during this time period. I like gave him all manner of shoes. Like you have boots and then you have this other type of shoe that have more of like a, not a strap, but they tie. Bare feet, more boots. I don't know why the apprentice would be wearing boots, but he is. But then we come to the last part. And if you haven't seen the book, or if you haven't read the book, then you really need to skip here because this is spoilers. So, I have two versions of this, and now that I'm looking at them, they're surprisingly similar. This one is the old one. From 2018, March of 2018. So, gee, almost exactly 3 years ago. And in this one, there's actually still some of the old costumes. Some of the old outfits. Okay, so here it is. It's the part where Ruth is hugging Captain Edward. Good scene. I love it. And you can see I've added where her stays lace up the side, even though now on the book cover they lace up the front. You know, he's got, this is a jerkin. And he's got, you know, a little ruffly collar, puffy sleeves, long hair, da-da-da-da-da. Ocean in the background, a dude with no face. This was going to be Augustus if I'd finished this. What's funny, though, is that these are more of, like, just, I don't know, just kind of, like, generic, sailorly looking stuff. Like, I wasn't going for any particular historical accuracy when I first originally designed these characters. If you have watched the video that I did on the story behind the story, you know I was originally inspired to write this book in a large way from a musical about the biblical story of Jonah. And the costumes for the sailors from that obviously had more of kind of an ancient world inspiration, I guess. I mean, they were still colorful and fun and I'm sure not entirely historically accurate, but the kind of like basic vests, pants, and shirts, sometimes without sleeves kind of a vibe is basically what I went for when I was designing the first versions of a lot of these characters. So you'll notice like a couple of these guys literally like don't have sleeves. Like this guy, I don't even know what Charles is wearing in this picture. Like I left the curly hair and the beard on him, but like what is he wearing? Is that a tank top? What do they call that? Muscle shirt. I think they call that a muscle shirt for guys. Is that a muscle shirt? Like, why is he wearing a vest with no shirt? Where did I come up with this stuff? And then, of course, you have Alan, who in the original version story had like a vest, arm braces, arm band things, and I left the sash and the ponytail on him. But I was a big fan of arm braces. Look, Leonard's got like a bunch. He's got like 4. And of course, I ended up leaving the hairstyles for basically all these characters. And him, he just had a vest and a sash and pants. Basically, I was just coming up with basic like costumes because I didn't yet know exactly what the elements of a person's outfit would be yet. I didn't know about the layers of, you know, shift or shirt, shift and jerkin and doublet and coat, and you didn't necessarily wear all of them at the same time, and the different styles of pants and boots and shoes and stockings and garters. And honestly, like, even though it's very much these characters in the background, they're not accurate for the time period I'm showing, I think it's fun to look back and see what kind of costumes I just came up with and invented. And it's fun too to see on some of my other pictures, like we've seen how I went back and then added different aspects of more historical accuracy. That was fun for me, and I think it's fun to look back and remember how much fun that was. And we come to the last one, and this one might be the last one that I drew. This one I started in February 2020, so a little over a year ago. Actually, at the time I'm filming this video, about exactly a year ago, because I'm filming this video in February. And if you pre-ordered my book, and if you've gotten it, you've seen this one, because I put this one on a bookmark and sent it to you. So, this is Ruth and Captain Edward at the end, and I left the background black and white. I'll hold them side by side. You can see it's the same pose, almost the exact same position on the paper, but this one just has a little bit more depth and meaning, I think. And of course, you know, the historically accurate costumes. And in this one, I left it where there's no other characters in the background, just to kind of hit home with the feeling of it just being the two of them, you know, that nice fatherly moment between them. Guys, I think father figure stories can be just as sweet and cute as romance stories. Like, I get like that warm and fuzzy feeling, okay? Like, don't get me wrong, I have been trying out doing different things with like courtship stories and stuff like that, but guys, found family, I mean, I don't know if found family, if that necessarily means like adoption kind of thing, but like just finding a family, finding a new family, finding a family you've lost or whatnot, like, it's just father-daughter stories. They're so sweet. I love them. I put them in my stories a lot, thinking back over some of the stories I've written. It's just so sweet, so wholesome. I mean, obviously you could do a father-daughter story that's not cute. You could have it be scary or whatever, but I like doing them sweet. Occasionally tragic, but I like them sweet. So yeah, that I think is all of them. How many was that? That was a lot of drawings. So if you've made it to this point in the video, you can come back now if you are avoiding spoilers. Hello, from the timestamp if you came from there. That was the art from Free. I did so much art. It is honestly kind of one of my top procrastination tools when I'm not ready to work on a story, but I want to work on the ideas in my head. There were times where I would just sit and draw and listen to music. Now a lot of times I sit and draw and watch YouTube, which probably doesn't do as much for allowing me to like think on story ideas as listening to music does, but I must not be as easily entertained these days. I hope you enjoyed seeing that artwork. I had so much fun showing you, if you can't tell. I love looking back at old artwork, and I am a visual person by nature. Like, if I can draw something to kind of figure out where things are at and visualize it, whether it's a chart or a graph or an illustration, I probably will. And for me, just being able to draw the characters, design their outfits, even tweak their outfits here and there, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun for me, and it's, for me personally as a writer, a very important part of the story. I can't think of a story where I haven't drawn something, just because I like to, because it helps me feel like the characters are real, come up with the places, world build. Yeah, it's fun. It's so much fun. I love it. And if you enjoyed seeing this artwork, let me know down in the comments. If you have read the book and any of these drawings gave you the warm fuzzies, let me know down in the comments. I like warm fuzzies. I'm not gonna lie. Like, yes, I'm gonna put conflict in there, but I want some warm fuzzies. So thank you for watching this video. If you have purchased, pre-ordered, or whatever Free and read it, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have read it, don't forget to leave reviews over on Goodreads and Amazon. And thank you for coming along with me this far. I am so happy that I have been able to share Ruth's story with y'all. I hope that it has encouraged you in your faith and maybe also given you some fuzzies. I will see you guys next time. Don't go anywhere. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next week or tomorrow, depending on when the next video is coming out. Bye-bye.